Set Boundaries, Find Peace, A Guide to Reclaiming Yourself by Nedra Tawwab. Picture this. Kim just got married, her career's soaring. From the outside, everything looks picture perfect. She's always been that person, you know? The daughter everyone brags about, the friend who drops everything to help, the coworker who never lets anyone down. But lately, she's hitting snooze on her alarm like it's a competitive sport, and the thought of facing another day makes her want to curl up under the covers and hide. This week alone, there's a friend who needs help moving, again, a coworker who can't seem to handle his own project without her. And here's the thing, saying no feels like admitting you're selfish. It feels cruel, doesn't it? So Kim does what she always does. She says yes, and yes again, and yes, one more time. Now she's sitting across from a therapist, desperately searching for some magical time creation technique, some productivity hack that'll let her squeeze even more into days that are already overflowing. The therapist pauses, looks at her kindly, and drops this truth bomb. It's impossible to create more time, but I can help you lighten your load instead. Just sit with that for a second. That feeling, the one where you're stretched so thin you're practically transparent, where you're giving and giving until you're running on empty, it's not just Kim's problem. It's an invisible crisis sweeping through our lives. And it's exactly what therapist Nedra Tawwab tackles in her game-changing book, Set Boundaries, Find Peace. For over 14 years, Tawwab watched people walk through her office door thinking they had anxiety issues, depression, time management disasters. But when she dug deeper, she found something else entirely, a universal struggle with boundaries. Her insights, which sparked a massive online following, revealed something we all needed to hear. We're not drowning because we're weak or broken. We're drowning because nobody ever taught us how to say no to others while saying yes to ourselves. So today, we're diving deep into this life-altering book. And here's my promise to you. By the time we're done, you won't just understand boundaries in some abstract, theoretical way. You're going to have actual, practical tools to reclaim your time, protect your energy, and finally find some peace. You'll learn how to have those conversations you've been avoiding for years, and in the process, you'll discover how to build relationships that are actually strong, healthy, and genuinely joyful. Let's kick things off with the cornerstone of Tawwab's entire philosophy. Boundaries are the gateway to healthy relationships. But hold on, what does that actually mean? What are boundaries really? Here's where most of us get it wrong. We picture boundaries as these massive walls topped with barbed wire, keeping everyone at arm's length. We imagine confrontations, ultimatums, that scary word no echoing through the room. But Tawwab flips this on its head with a definition that's both gentler and way more powerful. She puts it simply: boundaries are the expectations and needs that help you feel safe and comfortable in your relationships. They're basically the instruction manual you give people on how to treat you. Think about it for a moment. When you're overwhelmed, when you're secretly resenting people for asking you for help, when you're screening calls because you just can't handle one more request, those aren't signs that you're a terrible human being. They're alarm bells telling you that someone's crossed your boundaries. Your body and emotions are trying to get your attention, sending out distress signals that something's gotta change. The trouble is, most of us never learn to listen to those signals. Take Erica. She's a single mom raising 2 girls while working full-time as an accountant. She's determined to be a superhero mom, to give her daughters everything. She scrolls through social media, sees these other moms who seem to be crushing it, and thinks, I should be doing that too. But when tax season hits, everything falls apart. Dishes pile up like a science experiment in the sink. The laundry? Let's just say her kids are wearing questionable outfit combinations. She's so mentally checked out that she can't even muster the energy to cook a decent meal. Here's the thing, though. Erica isn't a bad mother. She's a burned-out mother. There's a huge difference. Burnout, Tawwab explains, happens when we consistently ignore our own needs. It's the price we pay for what she calls porous boundaries. Boundaries that are weak, unclear, and leave you feeling like you've been wrung out like a dish rag. Porous boundaries look like people-pleasing on steroids, a complete inability to say no, and constantly needing other people's approval to feel okay about yourself. It's that exhausting feeling that you have to say yes to everything and everyone, even when it's actively harming you. Now, swing the pendulum to the other extreme, and you've got rigid boundaries. This is where you build Fort Knox around yourself to keep everyone out, usually because you've been hurt before and you're not about to let it happen again. Someone with rigid boundaries might have a hard rule, like, I never loan money to people, period, and they'll stick to it even when their most trusted friend is in a genuine crisis. It's self-protection cranked up to 11, but it comes with a heavy cost, isolation and loneliness. What we're all aiming for, the sweet spot, is what Tawwab calls healthy boundaries. This isn't about constructing walls. It's about clearly, calmly, and kindly letting people know what you need. It's being comfortable saying no when you need to. And here's the kicker: being comfortable hearing no from others, without spiraling into self-doubt or feeling rejected. So how do we actually get there? Tawwab breaks it down into two straightforward steps: communication and action. First up, you've got to verbally communicate your need. This is where most of us completely faceplant. We assume people should just know. We think, it's obvious not to call me after 10 at night, or they should have known not to smoke in my car. But here's Tawwab's wisdom bomb. Common sense is based on our own life experiences, and it isn't universal. People can't read your mind. It's on you to make your needs crystal clear. She says something that should be embroidered on a pillow. Clarity saves relationships. But here's where it gets real. The second step is action. After you communicate your boundary, you have to back it up with your behavior. If you tell your friend, hey, can you give me at least a few hours, heads up if plans change, and they text you 10 minutes before with a last-minute switch, your action is to lovingly but firmly say, I'd love to see you, but I can't swing such a last-minute change. Let's find another time next week that works for both of us. That moment of discomfort, that's what creates a healthier, longer-lasting relationship. Of course, the second we think about actually doing this, fear crashes over us like a wave. What if they get angry? What if they think I'm being selfish? What if I lose this relationship entirely? Tawwab sees this coming from a mile away. She prepares us for the reality that when you start setting boundaries, especially with people who are used to you being a doormat, you can expect some predictable reactions. Some people will push back. They'll say things like, that's not fair, or you've never had a problem with this before. Others will engage in what she calls limit testing. They heard you all right, but now they want to see how bendy you really are. You say, I can't help you move this weekend, and they immediately counter with, okay, what about next weekend? They're testing the elasticity of your no. Some will just flat out ignore the boundary, acting like you never said anything, hoping you'll eventually drop it. Then there are the ones who get defensive, twisting things around so suddenly you're the bad guy and they're the victim. And yeah, some will give you the silent treatment or straight up ghost you, using disappearance as punishment for daring to assert yourself. But here's the most beautiful thing Tawwab discovered through years of practice. Despite all our catastrophizing, most people actually respond with acceptance. A healthy person, someone who genuinely respects you, will hear your boundary and simply say, "Okay, thank you for letting me know." And when people react badly, that's usually a neon sign that this boundary should have been set ages ago. So where does this whole boundary struggle come from anyway? Why is this so incredibly hard for so many of us? Tawwab takes us back to square one, our family. That's ground zero. From the moment we enter this world, we have needs. And we learn whether it's safe to express those needs based on how our parents respond. Imagine a kid who says, "I don't want to hug your friend." If the parent says, "That's okay, you don't have to," that child learns something crucial. My feelings of comfort matter. I have a right to my own physical space. But if the parent says, "Don't be rude, give them a hug," or worse, shames the child into compliance, they're learning something completely different. My feelings don't matter. Other people's comfort is more important than mine. I should feel guilty for saying no. This pattern cuts even deeper for those who experienced what Tawwab calls emotional neglect. And before you think this means abuse, it doesn't necessarily. It's the unintentional absence of enough emotional support from a caregiver. Consider Justin's story. He was just 12 when his parents divorced. His mother, overwhelmed and struggling, told him, "You're the man of the house now." Overnight, he became responsible for his younger brothers. His mom, trapped in her own depression, started confiding in him about the divorce, sharing emotions that no 12-year-old should have to carry. Justin essentially became a parent to his own parent. The message he absorbed was crystal clear. His needs weren't important. His job was to take care of everyone else. Is it any wonder that at 29, Justin finds himself dating fixer-uppers, people who need saving? He actually feels uncomfortable when someone tries to do something nice for him. He learned so thoroughly to suppress his own needs that he doesn't even know how to receive care. His childhood role became his adult identity. For Justin, and honestly for so many of us, healing starts with understanding that it was never our job to be the man of the house, to be our parents' therapist, or to keep everyone happy in a chaotic home. To make this practical and actionable, Tawwab breaks boundaries down into 6 distinct types. Understanding these categories helps us pinpoint exactly where we need to draw lines in our own lives. First up, physical boundaries. This is about your personal space and physical touch. You have every right to not want to be hugged, to ask someone to take a step back, or to be uncomfortable with public displays of affection. A simple physical boundary sounds like, "I'm more of a handshaker actually, I'm not really a hugger." Second, sexual boundaries. This is all about consent, full stop. It's never okay to touch anyone without their consent, to make unwanted sexual comments, or to tell inappropriate jokes. You have an absolute right to say, "Your comments about my appearance make me uncomfortable," or just a firm stop. Third, intellectual boundaries. This is about your thoughts and ideas. You have a right to your own opinions, and it's a boundary violation when someone dismisses, belittles, or ridicules what you think. This also includes when a parent shares adult information with a child who isn't emotionally equipped to handle it, like what happened with Alex, whose father told her all the graphic details of her mother's affair. Fourth, emotional boundaries. This is about respecting feelings. When you share something vulnerable, and someone invalidates you by saying, "You shouldn't be sad about that," or "That wasn't even a big deal," they've just trampled your emotional boundary. This also includes oversharing, dumping your entire life story on someone 10 minutes after meeting them, or, on the flip side, pressuring someone to share information they're clearly uncomfortable sharing. Fifth, material boundaries. This covers your possessions and your money. You get to decide if you want to loan someone your car or your favorite jacket. You also have the right to set clear expectations, like, I'll loan you this money, but I need it back in full by Friday. Finally, and this is the one that trips up so many people, time boundaries. This is about how you manage your time and how you allow others to use it. It's a time boundary violation when someone expects you to drop everything for them, calls you repeatedly for something that's definitely not an emergency, or expects you to stay late at work without compensation. Setting a time boundary can be as straightforward as, I'm unable to stay late today, or I can't help you this weekend. Now let's bring this into the messiest arena of all. The toughest place to set boundaries, as Tawwab points out, is almost always family. Think about James and Tiffany. They love each other, but they're constantly fighting about someone who isn't even in the room. James's mother, Nedra. James runs every decision by his mom, buying a house, financial choices, you name it. Tiffany sees her mother-in-law as manipulative and overbearing, but James sees her as wise and helpful. Tiffany feels like there's a third person in their marriage, and she resents the hell out of James for not standing up to his mom. This is textbook adult child who hasn't actually become an adult yet. Tawwab says something that might sting a bit. You become an adult when you set boundaries with your parents. It's not disrespectful. It's actually a necessary and healthy evolution of the relationship. For James, this meant learning to say to his mother, I know you mean well, Mom, but Tiffany and I need to handle things in our relationship without your input. It meant creating a new primary loyalty to his wife and the family they're building together. This is incredibly difficult work, but it's the only way for the marriage to thrive. The same principles apply to friendships. We've all had that friend, let's call him Dave, who calls every single day on his drive home from work just to vent and complain. You love the guy, he's a great friend in many ways, but the constant negativity is draining the life out of you. You dread seeing his name pop up on your phone, but you feel terrible about ignoring him. Tawwab would tell you this isn't about cutting Dave off completely. It's about gently reshaping what the friendship looks like. It's about setting a time boundary, maybe deciding you can talk once a week for 15 minutes instead of every day for 30. It's about redirecting the conversation by asking, hey, tell me something good that happened today. You're teaching your friend how to have a healthier dynamic with you. A true friendship will survive this shift. In fact, it'll probably get stronger. This becomes even more crucial in the workplace. Janine loved her job, but she was drowning in office gossip, coworkers constantly asking for help, and a boss who kept piling projects on her desk like she was some kind of work machine. She felt overworked and frustrated, and assumed her only option was to find a new job. But Tawwab makes this critical point. You can't outrun your inability to set boundaries. Those same patterns will follow you to the next job, and the one after that. The real solution for Janine wasn't a new office. It was a new approach. It was learning to assertively say, I've got a really full plate right now, so I can't help you with your project. Or, let's chat during lunch. I need to focus on this report right now. It's about realizing you can be a good, ethical, hardworking employee without being a people-pleasing doormat who gets taken advantage of. Finally, and this might be the most profound lesson in the entire book, Tawwab turns the spotlight inward. What about the boundaries we have with ourselves? Enter Kyle. Kyle works hard, and he's a firm believer in rewarding himself. Every time he gets a raise or a bonus, he buys another watch, designer clothes, or books an expensive vacation. He looks successful from the outside, but behind the scenes, he's drowning in credit card debt and regularly has to borrow money from his father just to make ends meet. Kyle can't say no to himself. Tawwab explains that having boundaries with yourself is really about self-discipline. It's about your finances, how you manage your time, your self-care practices, and even the way you talk to yourself. When you procrastinate, when you engage in brutal negative self-talk, when you stay in relationships you know deep down are unhealthy, you're violating your own boundaries. Keeping your word to yourself is the ultimate form of self-respect. It's making a promise to save 10% of your paycheck and then actually doing it. It's putting your phone down an hour before bed so you can get the sleep you desperately need. The ability to say no to your own impulses is a gift you're giving to your future self. The journey of setting boundaries isn't a one-and-done deal. It's a lifelong practice. There will be times when guilt washes over you. Times when you're genuinely afraid. Times when you slip up and fall back into old patterns. And you know what? That's perfectly okay. We're not aiming for perfection here. We're aiming for progress. It's about choosing the short-term discomfort of an awkward conversation over the long-term resentment of an unhealthy relationship. It's about understanding that boundaries aren't about pushing people away. They're about creating the space for people to show up in your life in a way that's healthy, respectful, and actually sustainable. They're how you teach the world how to love you properly. As we wrap up our journey through Set Boundaries, Find Peace, I want to take a moment to reflect on why this book has resonated so deeply with millions of people. In a world that constantly demands more from us, more time, more energy, more attention, more emotional labor, Nedra Tawwab's message isn't just helpful. It's genuinely essential for survival. What strikes me most about her work is its profound simplicity combined with deep compassion. She takes the fear and intimidation that we often feel around the word boundaries and completely reframes it as a fundamental act of self-care and respect. It's not about being mean or harsh. It's about being clear. It's not about building impenetrable walls. It's about building healthy, loving, sustainable connections with the people who matter to you. For anyone navigating today's world with all its social media pressures, academic stress, work demands, and the complexity of modern relationships, this book is more than just a guide. It's honestly a lifeline. It gives you permission to honor your own needs in a culture that often celebrates self-sacrifice to the point of total burnout. The idea that you can say no and still be a good, lovable, worthwhile person, that's revolutionary for so many of us. The most transformative lesson for me is this shift in perspective. Boundaries aren't something you set on other people. They're something you do for yourself and your relationships. It's not about controlling others. It's about taking responsibility for your own well-being. When you tell a friend you can't listen to them, complain for an hour straight, you're not just protecting your own energy, you're gently guiding the friendship toward a healthier dynamic. When you tell a parent you need to make your own decisions, you're not disrespecting them. You're evolving the relationship into one of mutual adult respect. So how can you start putting this into practice right now, today? It can feel overwhelming, so let's make it as simple as possible. First, just start by noticing. Pay attention to your body and your emotions. Where in your life do you feel that familiar pang of resentment, that drained feeling, or that sense of being completely overwhelmed? Is it when a certain person texts you? Is it when you're asked to take on another task at work or school? That feeling is your compass. It's pointing directly to where a boundary is desperately needed. Second, practice crafting a single, simple boundary statement. You don't even have to say it to anyone yet. Just write it down. Use Tawwab's I statements. Instead of thinking, "My friend is so exhausting," write, "I need our conversations to be more balanced," or "I want to limit our phone calls to 15 minutes. This small act of clarification is incredibly empowering. And third, start small. Find one low-stakes situation where you can practice. Maybe it's saying no to a small request you don't actually have time for. Maybe it's telling a family member, "I can't talk about that right now." Notice the discomfort, breathe through it, and then notice the peace that follows. Each small win builds the muscle and the confidence to tackle the bigger challenges. That was a summary of Set Boundaries, Find Peace by Nedra Tawwab. We've explored the core ideas today, but here's the truth. A summary can only take you so far. The real power of this book is in the way it speaks to your specific situation, your unique challenges. The magic happens when you read it for yourself. When a particular phrase or story resonates so deeply, it feels like it was written just for you. This summary is designed to give you a map, but reading the book, that's the actual journey. If anything we've talked about today has sparked something in you, I genuinely encourage you to grab a copy. It's more than just learning concepts. It's an experience that can give you practical tools to build a more peaceful and authentic life. The link to the book is in the description. Also, if you found this summary valuable, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps us know we're on the right track and ensures you won't miss our next deep dive into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and growing together.